Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to everyone. Thank you very much joining me as the regular Tuesday night class on Buddhist philosophy. So before, as you all know, before we start, we will do the refuge. It's not as we are doing for the first time. Doing the refuges are just checking your oil. This oil is always used. Checking your oil and water, I think. So it's very important. So thank you, everybody. Join your hands at the heart, and we'll do this prayer so that our time in listening and reflecting on the teachings will yield great clarity in understanding our mind and its various emotions, so that we're better at negotiating and making the right kind of decision in following or improving or restricting some of the thoughts and emotions without them getting away without our consent or without our approval. So the benefit of being able to do that is quite amazing. So therefore we have good reason to dedicate this with very holistic attitude of bodhicitta. Thank you, everyone. Oyenda Buddha Dhamma Sangha Aitere Yede La Dhamma Avacha Ajendala Ajare Padavadave Endabu Dadama Sangha Aitere Yede La Dhamma Avacha Ajendala Ajare Padavadave Endabu Dadama Sangha Aitere Yede La Dhamma Avacha Ajendala Ajare Padavadave. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a powerful happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment for those near and far. May all beings have happiness and cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they know a powerful happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell in equanimity, free from attachment for those near and far. May all beings happiness and the cause of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering. May they never bar from the happiness that knows no suffering. May they dwell equanimity, free from attachment and aversion So this is our last session on the topic of mind and mental factors according to the Sutra, Tantra, and Shastras. The actual intended topics that were in the text that we went have already have been covered. But I was reflecting briefly on those that have been covered and what may not have been covered by it. And then I was helped by going through a little booklet that came from Tibet by a Tibetan scholar who wrote on this very mind and mental factors, and he covered all the topics basically, all the 51 mental factors, and then but he didn't cover the 18 natural conceptions in his book. But one thing he did cover at the end, which I share, is dream, because it didn't. It said that it covered the concept of sleep, sleep being one of the 4 alterable mental factors, but it didn't say anything about dream. I suppose the reason why he didn't say about any dream about dream is about dreams is because the 50 mental factors, according to 51 mental factors, the reason why they didn't cover dream is because they thought it was part of sleep. So sleep is alterable mental factors. Yeah, of course, alterable mental factor doesn't mean virtues thoughts is not alterable in the non-virtues. Non-virtues are not alterable to virtues. So when I thought about the 4 alterable mental factors, it looks pretty thin. It doesn't seem have a lot of substance in that categorization. As if the wholesome mental factors and root afflictions and secondary afflictions are not alterable. In any case, it did occur to me, as his booklet suggests, the dream state of mind. Dream state of mind definitely is much more subtle, a kind of I would say wind and droplet, during which our gross sensory activities are not operative consciousness, and it's not adventitiously engaging any form or sight or sound or smell, taste, maybe slightly with touch, with blanket on you. Maybe the blanket and an electric blanket might still be operative consciousness when you're sleeping, but not sort of when you're deep sleep. Probably you don't quite interact actively as with a lot of attachment to the comfort or something. Maybe you're so asleep. Sometimes you're so asleep, even the blanket's out, blankets are fallen, you don't notice, isn't it? So you could be so deep asleep, even the blanket's off, or you wouldn't notice. I don't know. Some of you might share that, how deep a sleeper you are. The dream is a very deep sleep. It's much deeper than the normal sleep. It has to be so. So that's why I thought of translating from his booklet a little bit about dreams, because of course, first of all, dream is a state that is necessarily caused by sleep. So if you talk about causes of dream, the most dream has what I call immediate cause and a remote cause. The immediate cause of dream is sleep, so no doubt about that. Because if you don't sleep, you won't have dreams. Because you can't have dreams without sleep. But then dream is not always always no, sleep is not a direct, not a automatic cause of dream, because it is. If it is, then every time we sleep, we would have dreams. So therefore, the how big a cause the sleep is for the dream is so the immediate cause of the dream is sleep. But nevertheless, they must have a lot of remote causes of dream. Yeah, remote causes of dreams. So what are the remote causes? The remote causes are the subtle propensities that are deeply seated on our consciousness, that may not receive very good attention to be fulfilled, or whether it's positive or negative. It could be imprints of one of the root afflictions or secondary afflictions, or could be wholesome propensity of one of the 11 wholesome mental propensities that are there, but they only come up in dreams. Yeah, they only come up in dreams. Um, or those people or places or events that occurred a long time ago, that long time ago, and you didn't know during the dream what it is, but when you wake up, oh yeah, you dreamt about that. Oh, that was that, because that was that issue 10 years ago. You went through that and you didn't cope well or whatever. So you can see that definitely there is a blueprint of something called propensities, deeply so subtle that we don't even notice in the dream that it is actually dream, but we think it's so real. But when you wake up, whether the dream is vivid enough for you to remember, you straight away go back to the memory or events that you have had. So that this is a proof of what we call the subtle mind on which these kind of memories are imprinted. So they have to be fairly strong kind of I would say propensities, um, or it could be something pathological, signs of your looming illness in the future, or some kind of scars or injuries from past. They could also manifest in dreams. They could also manifest as a dream. Um, so or you can have dreams largely to do with people you are very emotionally very close to. Maybe they are not anymore in your life, but they still feature. They feature in your dream. So that also shows. That's also proof what we call the subtle mind is still have holding those imprints onto the consciousness. The reason what we are thinking about this is that even when we pass away, so maybe say 10 days before we pass or 10 years before we pass, we have all kinds of dreams of past. And that as we wake up, we realize, oh, that's that. And so this means that the likelihood of these things reappearing karmically stimulated by some things is there even when we pass away into next life, because that shows the subtle imprints of mental mind and mental factors that are laid on your consciousness. Unless you deliberately purify them or change them, they remain as a karmic imprint on our consciousness. So that's why the remote cause of dreams, in addition to the sleep, is those emotional objects of love, or objects of affection, or objects of things that has a very strong sentimental value, or attachment to particular, maybe your birthplace, or your ethnicity, or your culture, or some mountains, or some landscapes that you have strong association with. So they could always manifest, as well as strong sense of love or attachment or hate or fear or animosity. If they have not been deliberately erased karmically, they're all sitting there waiting to be sort of precipitated. So that shows that the mind and mental factors is not something that we, in a waking period, that we know we should be worried about. But even when we're sleeping, and even when we're dreaming, those mental factors are almost like creating subtle karma on their own. They do not necessarily purify. But the fact that the sleep has been recognized as one of the four alterable mental factors is that if you do go to sleep with sleeping yoga, for instance, the time before you go to sleep, if you do the sleeping yoga properly, then your sleep can turn into like a sleep of Dharmakaya. You can sleep so well, and probably you have less dreams. But if you do dream, you will know them as dreams, and therefore and not treat them as real, and do not actually create. But otherwise, you could be creating karma in the dream, because you could be running for life in the dream. You're fearing, or you're having really kind of a real nightmare, they call it, in the dream. I don't know what you call night dreams and a nightmare, like dreams in the dream. They are nightmares anyway. You can have nightmares during daymares. And it's many daymares, you can have a nightmare on top of that. So I think that all the dreams are daymares. Daymares that hasn't been resolved, That hasn't been resolved either due to really negativities or due to attachment. It's still there. It's still the imprint is still there, waiting to be attended to, waiting to be rewarded, or waiting to be fulfilled, or waiting to be compensated, or waiting to be revenged to some degree. That children who have very close affection to their parents, or to whoever they have lots of loving relationship attachment, always keep happening that dream, always keep happening that dream towards affection and love expressed to you or by you, or longing or missing each other or going together and so happy that you met them, even though you will never meet them because they died long time ago. but dream keep occurring as you will meet them and you will do many things together, and so on. So why do this? So this the fact that we could have so many dreams is not only caused by the sleep, but the fact that there are a lot of recurring dreams. It shows that the deeply seated subtle mental factors are there, and even though without any intentional desire to meet them or a longing for them before you went to bed, or during the whole last few years, you never actually thought about it. It's only keep occurring all the time. This shows that there's a very strong, subtle, emotional connection, whether they are afflicted ones or whether they're wholesome ones. So these things could appear. So, but if your mind become very cognizant due to sleeping yoga, which is the alterable mental factor, so because sleep is an alterable mental factor, you should deliberately go to sleep in order to have wholesome thoughts and do the sleeping yoga, visualization, whatever you do. Then the purpose of the sleeping yoga is so that you do go to sleep of the Dharmakaya, so that the dream becomes the Sambhogakaya. So the dream, usually in dream we don't know that the dream is dream, so we have no chance of realizing Sambhogakaya. So we take it literally as a daydream into the night dream, and we think it's literally true. So we fail to our sleeping mind, which is alterable mental consciousness, didn't get altered. It just remained like a fairly neutral. And should the dream upset you in the dream, frighten you, or you did something in the dream that is terrible because you were so frightened, all of these could actually impact further imprint onto the mental consciousness, even though it wasn't the intention of the waking mind. But because of the alterability of the sleeping mind, you could be waking up with a lot of fear. You wake up from the sleep, you were suffering. You really didn't like that dream at all, and all the things you did or you were doing was awful. And subsequently, even when you woke up, it is affecting you to the extent of not being able to go back to sleep. So that shows the suppressed negative emotions or suppressed deep longing. Some people really want something, but they never actively attended to it. Such kind of suppressed emotion can always manifest. Mhm. Same could also you could also have dreams of animals, to maybe some pet or whatever, or some places that you have strong karmic affinity to or attachment to. So you always find yourself going to those places. Maybe those places somewhere you never been before, but you have a long wish to go, but you have never been. But still, that you actually find yourself going there, even though you never gone there. So that shows the mind is quite capable of recreating its own experiences without actually having done physically, because mind is able to go and experience without going and doing it, because it can do all by the mind itself. So that in one way is showing how powerful the mind is. Without even having gone to places or done that, you actually keep dreaming as you have been doing it, because you've been long wanting. There's a long longing to do that. So all of this shows that there are a lot of mental horizons we could not explore by merely talking about those 51 mental factors, as well as the 80 natural mental conceptions. In any case, in the dream, whatever experience you have regarding doing Dharma things or things, some activities or people you meet or doing various things, all of this that you were during the time of experiencing the dream, uh, 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 they are just as truly real as if you were in your actual real life. So this is one thing that would show that all mental, not only factors, but experiences that we have had in this life, even in this life, is actually just thoughts. You don't need to go, you don't need the eye to open, you don't need the tongue to eat food, but you can eat food without eating food. You can enjoy sight without opening eyes. And you can hear sound without any sound made into ears. That shows how even the sensorial gratification or memories we have are all mental imprints. All mental imprints. So minus the direct operative sense consciousness, mind is the primary consciousness itself, capable of reoccurring all the experiences. Whatever the dream brings them to the surface of your mind, you can experience that. You might dream something that never occurred, something that never has occurred, but you are in dream. You have impossible dreams, dreams that are impossible, that has never happened in life. But you keep having those things. So what does that say about the mind? It definitely is somewhere in the mind. There is either an intention or there is a kind of a memory that we do not know that was that are intent. So there are lots of things. I'm sure many of you would have dreams that you have never done, but yet it's incredible, just unbelievable how much store of your consciousness can hold to allow that kind of thing to occur, even maybe half an hour sleep, but you had amazing years of a dream, look like a couple of years. So what does this say is the time, space, and knowledge, are completely mentations. They're just mere our designations. The mind actually doesn't need to know the calendar. Body doesn't need to be. Mind doesn't need to have a fixed location to do something. It can completely go somewhere, or without going, it goes. Without going, all the places comes to itself. So this unexplored part of the dream state of mind is quite interesting, because quite a lot of the dreams are all the things you did, and whether you have experienced emotionally or physically or visually seen something or tasting something or singing or dancing or whatever it is. But as soon as you wake up from that sleep and the dream, and then you couldn't believe, what you were going through. But yet, when you woke up, none of this have ever occurred at all. So what does that say about the dream and its causes? That shows that sleep was the sort of immediate cause of the dream, but there were lots of remote causes for making those dreams occur. That's unique to you. That shows something about your subtle mental consciousness that none of the 51 mental factors could talk about. Even the 18 natural mental conceptions are only, seems to me, the gradations, the three gradations of lesser, medium, and great. All those different levels it talked about the previous week are still tip of the iceberg. So the mind has a lot more, Yeah, some of the dreams, it says, some of the dreams could be to do with future events, what will happen to you in the future. Some dreams could be pathological, sign of a pathological disorder may be revealed in the dreams. Longdo Lama, who's a very famous Tibetan author who wrote a lot about dream, he mentions that quite a lot of your illnesses will be revealed in dreams, months, years before, if you knew how to check them. It says that when you are asleep, the person who has a headache, person who has a headache and he still got a headache and he went to sleep, he could have a very exaggerated form of the headache, not in form of headache, but dream of being hit by somebody on his head. Or saying the headache that when you went to sleep you have an headache, but usually when you go to sleep you won't feel the headache, But you could dream that headache is worse. headache is worse in the dream than it was in real life, because you had such a difficult headache, and when you went to sleep, and then it manifests the dream. Your headache has got so worse that it's not getting better. So, or you could go to bed slightly fearful, thinking there was someone at the door, but when you check the door, there was nobody. Then you go to sleep, and then the dream, that unresolved fear, that unresolved fear, saying who was there, or I thought there was somebody, but when I checked there was nobody. Then one goes to bed and so not resolving that, and that could come and then in the dream one dreams there's someone shooting at you. So dream can exaggerate so much, even small things like that. It's not only something that happened in the past, but small immediate things that happen in the same evening. You could actually have it very, very much exaggerated. So therefore, what it says is that, like you got beaten by a dog, or something fell on your feet, or you could have all kinds of dreams. Sometimes you realize it's a dream, and then you deliberately cut short and wake up. Have you managed to do that sometimes? When you realize it's a dream, and then you just sort of, maybe you weren't totally deep asleep to not to be able to wake up, but you were able to wake up, and you were able to suspend the sleep, and from extending the dream, So what does these things say about is that how many propensities and inklings and intentions, wishes, and yearnings and longings and fears and doubts that we have could all manifest in one's mind. Yeah, and he says when one is sleeping, um, when one's blankets are too warm, you're feeling too hot, yeah, you're feeling too hot. But actually, in the dream, you feel you're being burned in fire. Actually, your blanket is very warm, warmer than it necessarily need to be, and you could dream as if you are being burned in fire. So dream tend to exaggerate it a lot, even immediately. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, if say one has been thirsty, say sometime during the day, and you didn't get a drink for a while, and you're very thirsty until in the afternoon or evening you got a drink, but you could dream in the night that you're so thirsty, and you're looking, running around, going for to find water everywhere, and you couldn't find water. So you could also that shows that this kind of strong kind of daytimes, maybe you can say affliction or wholesome thoughts or whatever thought you have, they could be they could be exaggerated many times because of the imprint that it left on the consciousness from the day. And when it is now, when everything is asleep, then the dream, the mental formations come alive. Mental formation becomes almost activated on many different levels. Um, and it talks about another thing about pathological. This is a mainly Tibetan medical related kind of a ways to the way the doctor usually asks the patient about the dreams, because they can listen to the pulse and so on, but still they want to verify dreams of the patient. So if the person has a very kind of sign of a pulmonary infection or some lung disease coming, then he actually dreams as he was suffocated. He suffocated. Or if the person has a lot of doubts in their mind about something, whatever it is, then he will find in dream he's very confused, always losing his road, and misplacing something, and is looking for it, and in the dream he loses many things, because that's mainly his behavior during the day could be imprinted on the mind in the sleep to the extent of showing that in that form. And then person who has a lot likelihood of developing a heat disease, mainly it's a heart and high blood disorder, so on, then he actually uh, dreams of being caught, being incinerated in fire. Always burning inferno. He's trying to escape, but he's surrounded by fire from everywhere. That actually could be a pathological sign of dreams indicating some, maybe a few years time one might develop some diseases that's to do with excessive heat and negative destructive emotions, particularly to the heart disorder, or some blockages in the arteries and things like that. And then, whereas a person who has lots of desire, and his desire hasn't been fulfilled, and he's still seeking and craving after them, then he found himself always drowned in water. His dream is being drowned in the water. And a person who is really indecisive, who's with a lot of anxiety and depression, he finds himself caught up in hurricanes. He dreams is always caught up in a storm. So quite a lot of the kind of internal mental, subtle mental formations that are imprinting these things could actually exacerbate and manifesting these things, which yeah. So I mean, this gentleman doesn't directly consult many medical texts, but I've seen Tibetan medical texts saying the same things. Say if a person who has been got hungry, had to go hungry for many, many days in his many, many years ago. And so then he, then of course after a while he never had to look for food. They had always abundant food. So he will dream that he's always eating himself. Because he never had the time to eat enough. So he's always eating dreams. It's a lot of eating dreams. A lot of eating dreams. Not because you ate so much, but you missed so much to eat. So you can see the karmic repercussion of what thoughts and emotions we have is quite enormous in terms of how a small seed become huge plant, huge tree. But so there are all of these things are to do with what mental formation or mind and mental factors imprint our consciousness are imprinted by will then manifest them in the dreams. So dreams aren't from the relative point of view, dreams aren't without reasons. They are subtle mental imprint or propensity that hasn't been attended to or that has been ignored, that we still have a lot of aversion or fear or hope or attachment. So any of the mental factors we discuss could have their imprint deeply seated, that because we didn't get to attend to them successfully or effectively, and they could exaggeratingly manifest in the dreams. So specifically, then he deals, say, if you have a very strong attachment or have aversion and resentment and jealousy or faith or determination or fear or any of these things, if any of these strong, I would say, the emotions from the past, the person, for instance, who have missed his loved ones, and he doesn't get to see them very often, he always sort of resents how little time he have time with his loved ones, But he does spend time with them, but always he's still never contented the time that he did have together. He's always a feeling, I never get enough time to do this and go with them or do this with, such person will then always in the dream will have this strong yearning to meet them, to see them, to do with them, so the dream is exactly what you have been thinking in your everyday life, so much so that even people who have passed away for years ago, even though they are not there in your real life and in your dream, you're always still wanting to go and meet them. You don't remember in the dream that they're dead. Because the mind doesn't forget that you still long them. So in deep sleep, it doesn't remember that they have died, because one doesn't want to accept they're dead. So you can see how many part of beings are like that, because they don't accept that they're dead. That part of beings are basically they fail to realize dream. Dream is dream, let alone life as a dream. Because of that, when they died, they never believed they died. They didn't even know their so-called death. They had no intention to accept it any time. They were dragged by hook or crook. They're going to avert it. They're going to cheat themselves from death. They had no intention to accept the death at all. So when even it happened, they still have not died. So they still become a ghost. No, they're the ghost all the time. They just become this immortal ghost. Oh, this immortal ghost meeting on Tuesdays. Sorry about that. always remember Tuesdays. In a positive sense, yeah. Always remember, we got a class. I got to finish my dinner by 7:30. Yes. Person who who's very attached to his jewelries, also some family heirlooms. Maybe his heirlooms are not really very valuable, but they are very valuable. Remember that, because they got sentimental value. If you attach to them, you always dream finding jewels, finding jewels. What you have is never enough. You still, because you really like them so much, you keep dreaming as if you're finding jewels, or meeting the very friends that you long wish to meet. It means that you are. Can be mainly from your side. It could also be from their side as well. So because nothing is exclusive causes. There are many causes from here and there, both. So if there's lots of mutual attachment, there will be lots of this kind of. They would be exacerbated. The extent of the dream become very, very intense. And if you have a lot of aversion and resentment to somebody, because you're always wanting to win over them, and you actually dream that you became victorious, even though in real life you never have. in your real life, you have never actually overcome your own hatred, let alone overcoming them. But in dream, it's exaggerated, as you have defeated them, and you have a sweet victory, which is completely delusional. This is interesting, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And if you have lots of ill will and anger towards somebody, you keep dreaming that you're fighting with them. Even though the other one has no intention, or they were nowhere near to, because they succeed avoiding you. But in dream, you keep fighting with them as if the fight has never finished. Fight has been finished. So this shows that if we, in the dream, which is part of the sleep, that's why alterable is, you could be really frightened you have a very terrible dream. And so maybe if you spend half an hour dreaming, very frightened, very angry and so forth, your mind stream is somewhat influenced negatively by that dream. Even when you get up, you just don't want to go back to sleep. So that shows that what is imprinted on the mental consciousness, unless karmically or more meritoriously purified, they don't get erased. So all mental imprints stay there for long, for us to having to face them one way or another. And those towards whom you have jealousy and envy, you always dream that you're quarreling with them. You're always quarreling with them, even though they're not quarreling with you, even though you're not quarreling with them, but you keep dreaming all these quarrels with them, people, or fighting with them. And whereas this is what we're talking about, the subtle imprint of those mental factors, wholesome mental factors, 11 wholesome mental factors, as well as the root, six root and 20 secondary afflictions, all of them, because they have been imprinted on your consciousness, your dream could be mainly a reflection of those waking daytimes emotions, positive, wholesome emotions or negative emotions, whichever you have followed or activated, they will cause you to have some dream. Like say people who have lots of devotion to the Buddha and gurus and Triple Gem and so on, they actually dream them seeing the Buddha or receiving the Buddhas or Bodhisattvas, because that means the practitioner has been very faithful, and then their pure devotion or pure perception that they deliberately try to recruit in the waking life, they actually manifest in the dreams. And so, if you have strong determination and strong kind of lucid faith, and that you are always doing something to help others, because you really wanted to help other people. But in dream, you're helping more than you actually ever help anybody. So interesting, isn't it? You have long wish to help, but you actually haven't really helped a lot. But in dream, you're helping a lot more than you really actually help in your everyday life. You couldn't believe I was so good. In real life, I'm not like that. So quite interesting, yeah. So this is very interesting point of view. This Samdru, whose author, has said that dream has been neglected among the mind and mental factors, and he doesn't query that whether it's because of the part of sleep being covered, but it's quite a matter of interest, you know. If you have lots of fear in your waking life, mm, mm, then in the dream, if you have unresolved fears, you will have dreams of being, mauled or chased, or nearly at the brink of being mauled by lions or snakes or whatever. So those dreams very much indicates that you have unresolved fears. You still are really fearing something, And if you have a lot of doubts, the doubts will be that if you have a lot of doubts, you're fighting with somebody every time you lose. Every time you lose, and they win, means you have a lot of doubts. Doubts will means that doubt as a mental factor, if it's entertained and if it's not being sort of remedied by faith and devotion, so therefore doubts actually can manifest like that, you being defeated by others in the dreams. And if you have ill will towards somebody, you actually dream as being killed by people. Means that you have ill will towards somebody. So ill will is as bad as killing yourself. So it's very psychologically quite interesting, isn't it? So why people dream you being killed, or you killing somebody means you have lots of ill will towards somebody, even though you may never kill do something, even though your ill will is relatively bad, but you will never angry that enough to be kill anybody, but yet you dream doing just that. so 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 what he suggests is that each of those 50 mental factors, if you were to look carefully, the difference between the dream state of experience, there must be that each of those mental factors has a subtle and very subtle imprint on the consciousness. And you may not reveal any of them behaviorally, outwardly, physically, verbally, but because they have not been erased mentally, they will still manifest. They still can reoccur anytime, as the dream indicates. Another thing that he raised is, I don't know exactly because I haven't read this part and thought through. He says that some people's kind of certain thought towards you, maybe ill will, maybe love, maybe jealousy, or whatever it is to you, how they could also manifest in you, even though you have not directly taken part into it. And I mean, so it means that you're always hearing in the dream that he's backbiting you. That you dream in the dream, not without knowing that there's a dream that people are backbiting you. You just hate people talking behind you. You just can't stand one face in the front of you, one face when they turn back. as if everybody can get over it. Nobody get over that, do they? They really don't like people with two faces. Actually, people have many faces. It's not just two. Because deluded sentients don't realize the cost of the multiple face. Multiple face, one private, one this. So so if we are very low morale and we don't have a lot of positive, wholesome mental factors, then other people's ill will towards you, whatever it is, that can actually upset you. You're so vulnerable to their ill will that even in a dream you manifest that you are being harmed by other people. And why you are harmed by other people? Because people do have ill will towards you, and you have nothing to counteract that. And this can demoralize you when you wake up from. Some people could wake up from a dream and they become so depressed the rest of the day, or not weeks. So, so therefore, we should really sleep carefully so that we do not have bad dreams, because bad dreams comes from remote causes and conditions like that. So basically, what it's saying is that you could be dreaming as a result of your vulnerability and offendability, and then people thinking badly towards you or scheming some negative things towards you. They could actually manifest in your dream, and they might even happen in your everyday life. So all of this, I think I'll stop reading over this because it's and then yeah, another thing is about the timing of the dream. Yeah, another thing about the timing of the dream. The Longdon Lama, who wrote lots of things on dream, he says that that the dream can occur at different times of the night. Yeah. At the dream as soon as you sleep, the dream that occurs as soon as you sleep, all of them is merely to do with things that you were doing, did, or said, or people spoke to you, or places you went, things you did. All could be to do with day to day, what you call thoughts that has not been still sort of scaled down, but day thought has come into night thought. He's sleeping, but let's go into it. His mind is still available. So the day thought become night thoughts. That's usually the sleep early part of the night's dreams are largely to do with the many day thoughts, what you were doing today or didn't, or whatever. those things could manifest as imprint or propensities of what you if you had lots of attachment related or aversion related or confusion related negative emotions throughout the day, you could be dreaming that as soon as you go to sleep. So it doesn't have any indication of what happened or what will happen in the future, but it just says that your mind has not stopped imprinting those consciousness, imprint on your consciousness, and they're still manifesting as active as they were real in your daytime. So that could be people, that could be places, that could be locations, that could be certain activities, and whichever you have a strong kind of reckoning in your mind, they seem to repeatedly occur on the dreams, to the extent of you not really sleeping very well because it was so busy in the dream that you wake up but you haven't rested very well, because so the dream is in many ways harmful for the body and the mind, because you didn't get to rest very well because dream took over your mind. In the dream you can see the person is running or fighting or screaming or he's not happy or whatever. Actually on the subtle mental level, that actually is affecting the person's mind to the extent of not allowing the body to rest and the mind to be calmed. So the dreams that occur as soon as you sleep can be quite exhausting. Longdon Lama talks about 3 days imprint. So the 3 days imprints is if you go to sleep, as soon as you sleep and you dream, usually all the things you see is things you did last 3 days or things that you're going to do next few days. All of those that was really playing up on your mind, they keep reappearing in the dream. Or he says that could be just triggering. The day thoughts could be just triggering, but actually are unresolved mental issues from thousands of years ago could also be brought up by those. And thus when you wake up, you find you have not rested. The dream has been very exhausting for your body and mind, and in fact you wish you could sleep without any dreams. So that shows that sometimes physically that the dream could be very, very taxing, taxing for the mind, to the extent when you wake up in the morning you haven't really rested at all, because you feel as if you have lost much time in this dream, and instead of getting up with a rested body. Then other dreams are mainly caused by past karmic propensities, like activities or things you're doing, or type of social, your social life, or immediate circles of friends or family, or your possessions or places you went or things you did, or the kind of pet animals or cattle that you have. So these are all to do with your interaction with people, places, and animals. So this mainly shows the past imprint of on your consciousness. That, like say, you used to hike or you used to do various things, and you haven't hiked for many years, but now you keep dreaming as you're going to college or hiking or whatever you did so many years ago, and they occur. So this shows that imprint on the consciousness does not get erased. If it's particularly wholesome or unwholesome mental emotions that are imprinted, they do not go disappear. Even though you do not actively interact and stimulate them, they're all sitting there like a karmic imprint. So that's why the mental factor, sometimes you would have a strong thought, a strong feeling, a strong yearning or something. It came out of nowhere, but you just in the middle of such thoughts during the daytime, and such could be exaggerated many more times in the sleep, in the dream time. So that's the dreams in the early part of the night. Then the midnight dreams, according to London Lama says, mainly caused by demons. Midnight dreams are caused by spirits, or yakshas, and Gandharvas and various or deceased relatives try to interfere your mind. So that means the midnight dreams occur to people whose mind is very scattered. Who during the daytime, if their mind is very scattered, very lots of exhaustion and tired and anxious and fear and all those things, they become a lot more susceptible to be interrupted by midnight dream causing spirits, and therefore demigods, asuras, and yakshas, and evil spirits, and maras, and the deceased spirits, and they could cause you to be possessed by them, to the extent of, sometimes people really feel there's some demons oppressing you, So if people have those nightmares, as if they're slowly attacking you, and you didn't even know they were attacking you, but you just find yourself in a nightmare. So midnight dreams and nightmares are usually caused by a lot of mental anxieties and negativities during the day. If one still hasn't let go or meditate on the impermanence and emptiness, then it's most likely cause of the midnight dreams are, and that can directly attract those spirits, because you have become one of them. You have been one of them during the day, basically, and they realize, oh, I thought you were looking for us. Come on, we are here. they come and try to get your attention. You can leave the body there. We can take you. Out of dream, kind of out of body experiences can help. So that okay. So that's midnight dreams. It's not interesting. And then the dawn, the dream before the dawn, but early in the morning, maybe a couple of hours, maybe last 2 hours of the night, that is this the dream, the timing of the dream, and early morning, whatever, whether it's positive dreams or negative dreams, they all have ramification to your life. So therefore, if you have you can have dreams that are very, very prophetic. Prophetic meaning they are so clear that they will indicate what will happen to you. They could be have a very positive dreams, or very, very ill-omened dreams, very miraculous dreams, very death dreams, illness dreams, lost dreams. You could have all kinds of dreams, because they are because you're going to face any of them sometime, and the dream is actually is precursor, or basically like a premonition. Dream is a premonition that you don't know it's a premonition. That's why the death dreams, illness dream, lost dreams, separation dreams, and death dreams, and all of and being betrayal dreams, or people doing bad things against your back, that someone will just usurp you, or someone will try to destroy you. All these things can come quite early, in a way before it's going to happen to you. But those dreams, those kind of lucid dreams, are definitely going to happen early in the morning. For instance, it says, Longdo Lama says, for instance, the positive dreams, that you are climbing on a very high mountains. That means you're going to be promoted. You're going to be promoted to the dreamlike status of a prime ministership. and when if you see a very sunny day, if you see a dream very sunny, everywhere very sunny, that means you will have lots of happiness. You will have lots of happiness, sun of happiness arising. And that you will have lots of good income and good profit, or yeah. And if you're dreaming wearing lots of nice clothing, and everybody cheering you up, and you maybe doing a bit of a catwalk as well with a lot of nice clothing, it means you will find a lot of riches. You will have a lot of gifts. You have a lot of gifts on your way. And the dreaming that you're wearing armors, you're wearing armors means you won't be contracting illnesses. Even if there's illness everywhere, you will escape unscathed by the illnesses. If you're wearing very nice hats, good shoes, means you are well loved and respected. You will be loved and respected. If you're dreaming that we're carrying weapons in your hand, means nobody can harm you because you're well armed. And the dream of crossing rivers means you're helping others. And dream of wearing very beautiful jewelries means you have very good reputation. Playing music and entertaining lots of people, that means you are popular, you are loved, and you have many people who admire you. So those are positive dreams. Positive dreams. Like there's a lot that he talks about all the dreams of Milarepa. Milarepa had all the dreams, and all of his dreams were positive, and they came true. So Milarepa reports to his teacher his dream. He says, last night I had a good dream,
please, I want to report to you my dreams. Um, he says, in this vast land in the northern part of the universe, there is a huge, beautiful mountain covered in snow peaks. So, it's covered with snows. And the snow peak mountain is so high it almost looks like it's going to touch the sky. So that's his dream. And while the snow peaked mountain is so high and tall about to touch the sky, but yet there's both sun and moon, both are very brightly shining at the same time. And the brightness of the sun and the moon just completely illuminate the whole world. And the whole universe could be seen just as you're looking in palm of your hands. And he says, it is from that very tall snow-peaked mountain, well lit by sun and moon, there are 4 great rivers flowing down from each of the 4 directions. Yeah, and that everybody is drinking water from the rivers, and they're all happy and thankful for the mountains. And at the end, all those water finally go and fall into the ocean. That's another. You don't have to dream. It's really true too. And between the mountains, between the waters, there's so many blossoms. And so this is his dream. Yeah, this is his dream. Yeah, and then he says that on the eastern side of the mountain there was a huge big pillar, and on top of the pillar there's a huge big lion, and elegantly sitting on top of the pillar, and the lion had a beautiful mane, and it has very long claws, and it is occasionally scratching its chest, scratching its chest, yeah, chest, and it is always glaring its eyes, looking up in the sky, and every now and then the lion is making sound, roaring its sound. And so he spoke like that to all of his dreams, all of his dreams. And then in relation to his dreams, all these dreams, um, um, his dream was all interpreted by his teacher. Yeah. So the reason that it was a very brightly sunlit vast northern land means the Buddha Dharma is going to spread very much in Tibet. This is 12th century dream, 12th century dream. 12th century dream is a very early dream, because Tibetan Buddhism hadn't reached its golden days. It was just after hard few hundred years, a good few hundred years, then a very difficult nearly 90 years. After that, during his time, the Dharma is starting to revive, yeah, Milarepa's time. So his dream indicate that the Dharma will spread very vast in all over Tibet, and the beautiful snow-peaked mountain symbolized the great translator Marpa and the Karma Kagyu and Kagyu lineage, and showing the very high-peaked mountains is impeccable, incomparable lineage of Marpa and Milarepa. And the sun and moon that is very brightly shining at the same time, it shows that the meditative practices of that lineage will be filled with wisdom and compassion. And the fact that the rays of light completely fill the whole sky means that the compassion of those great teachers will greatly dispel the darkness of the world. And the fact that this radiant light has illuminated the whole horizon of the whole universe means the Kagyu teachings will spread very vast and true. Actually, it's true. Kagyu lineage is very, very. You wouldn't believe how big Kagyu lineage is. If you compare even these days, even if you compare Kagyu lineage has three or four of the lineages, sub-lineages there. The rest aren't there, but even one of them would be much bigger than like Sakya lineage in terms of the size of it. I'm not talking about anything else, but just how Milarepa's dream came true. Came true. They have followers everywhere. Like whole Bhutan is Drukpa Kagyu. whole Ladakh, and maybe only a small couple of sort of percentages is other lineages, and basically you wouldn't find anywhere where there's no Kagyu lineage. And in the West also, so many Kagyu lineages, centers, and so on. So I'm not saying the other lineage didn't have such dreams or like that. They also have, but this how this dream came true. And then how the water, the river flowing from all the four directions of the mountain, flowing to different parts of the world and satisfy all the world, means that wherever the teachings of the Dharma spread through that other lineages, it satisfy all of these things. The fact that all the water eventually fall into the ocean means that all of the practitioner will be able to reunite the clear light of the child and clear light of the mother will merge into one. And all the beautiful flowers and blossoms means that all of them will yield the result that is flawless and flawless. Generally speaking, your dreams are not bad, but very good. But most importantly, all of you who have heard this interpretation dream means that you should all mind your mind. mind your mind, through your meditation. So then all the great pillars, that's in the eastern. Let's just go over this. In the fact that there was a big pillar on the eastern side of the mountain means that you will have a great successor called Surton Wange. These are two Surton Wang. These three monk disciples, and the great lion on top of the pillar means that he will have four lion-like disciples who will uplift his lineage, and the fact that the lion has beautiful manes and means that all the whisper lineage teaching will quench the thirst of many people. And the fact that the lion is scratching his chest, with the claws, means all the practitioner will be filled with the claws of the four immeasurables. Claws of the four immeasurables. And the fact that the lion's glaring in his eyes in the sky means they always never sort of enticed by samsara, never interested in samsara's kind of gains and glory, not attached to them. They will have them, but they never attach to them. They might live in luxury and so on, but they're not really attached to them at all. So they might use it for the sake of flourish, whatever, but they themselves are not attached to even a single penny. They have no actual attachment to them. So in the meantime, through their skillful means, they will bring many onto the path of liberation. So and so on, from each of those pillars and mountains, rivers, there are different individuals, disciples, names are given, what will they do? So all the 12 sub-lineages, the Kagyu lineage, Karma Kagyu is one of them. All the 12 sub-lineages have three main disciples who are all championing to spread the Dharma in each of the 10, it's the four directions. So in this way, Marpa is the one who interpreted Milarepa's dream. I mean, all of you should look into this particular section of Milarepa's life, and it's very, very interesting read, and will indicate that we should not overlook dreams, overlook positive dreams, So because we, as long as we don't realize the dreamness of everything, we might as well make sense of try to make dream come true. Dream come true so that everything is true, not true. And then the negative dreams are people usually have lots of negative dreams, and then as a result of negative dreams, so many bad things happen to them. It doesn't mean that when you have negative dreams, you can you can avert what's happening, but you should not treat the life itself so real. They should see the life itself as a dream and not get too frightened by it. So even those things do happen to you, you will not be too badly beaten by them. For instance, it says you are dreaming as you're caught in a storm or a muddy place, you're stuck in the mud, or you're covered in sort of unfilthy things, all and or all of these kind of dreams, or you're riding a donkey or buffalo backwards and going towards the east southern direction. You are finding yourself naked and crying, and you dream the fall of the sun on the ground and the fall of the moon on the ground, and you have lost your hat, and these are all sign of a very distressful thing looming. So these are some of the negative dreams. If you So that will do. Now I want to focus a little bit about the importance of summing up this term, talking about the mind and mental factors. Is mainly the main purpose of studying mind and mental factors is how best we can learn to train the mind so that it can be, we actually learn to become much more familiar with our mind and its emotions, and then learn to not to be sort of forced by the afflictive negative emotions, and therefore gradually try to reduce the harmful mental emotions, recognizing the negative mental emotions such as greed or attachment and ill will, and with intention, deliberate intention, those omnipresent mind, five omnipresent mind, you have intention, attention, how to make sure that you do not lose yourself to those negative mental emotions. And so one try to gradually reduce the force and frequency and the continuity of your negative mental emotion. You try to mindfully reduce the forceful negative mental emotions, and gradually try to increase the wholesome mental factors such as forgiveness, loving kindness, and compassion, and so on, so that whatever we have learned about mind and mental factors aren't some objects external to us, but they become more subjectively conscientious in knowing our own mind, and gradually learn to reduce, eliminate the negative mental factors, and whatever near and remote causes thing to excite and stimulate negative mental emotion, you learn to take precaution not to become associated with place or activities or people or conversation that does increase your negative mental emotions. So one needs to practice caution, how not to become exposed to your own. You should learn to distance from your negative mental thoughts. So how to, people don't do a lot of harm to anybody, but their most harm is done in the mind. And so if one does not know how to distance from the negative emotions of one's own mind, usually a person becomes so addicted, they don't even know negative mental emotions as the negative mental emotions. So people who are taking caution in learning about mind and mental factors, whether they are sutric or tantric or shastric, really is that main thing is that we need to intimately know the harmfulness of those thoughts. And if you hold those hands, hold the fingers of those thoughts, how destructive they are. So therefore, main point is we need to understand the causes or condition of any negative mental episodes. Is it because we had that negative conversation with others, or did we have that monologue with ourselves about that issue far too long? So we know that we are ourselves need to cognize the mental factors that are positive to recruit and negative to distance. And so when we also know the causes and conditions that gives rise, whether going to places or doing things or not doing things, or not, yeah, a person who used to practice maybe, and he's not practicing regularly or whatever, yeah, less and less he do, the less and less he has positive influence. The more and more he has negative influence. So therefore, it's very pivotal importance that one adhere to the importance of recruiting wholesome mental factors, which one mindfully practices. So therefore, again, Asanga, in his text called the Bodhisattva Bhumi text, and it says that you need to develop, you need to be. He speaks about the numerous causes of the afflictions. What are the causes of the mental afflictions? There are 6 types of causes from which mental affliction can arise: a basis, a focal object, social distraction, explanation, habituation, and attention. So these are the 6 causes of those things. The basis here refers to latent seed, the latency seed from which it arises. A second is the focal object. Focal object refers to an object that appears that is conducive to mental afflictions. So object is whether it could be place or people, activities, or your own kind of dark corners of your mind, erroneous zones of your mind, and you always find yourself going into that. Social distraction refers to going along with the influence of negative people. Yeah. So if we are, while we need to mind our mental factors, we also need to mind who we spend time doing with, whose influence is wholesome, whose influence is negative. So social interaction with someone is always negative to you. They have a negative influence on you. They deplete your positivities. You need to make sure how not to expose oneself to those. And third one is the explanation. It refers to listening to unwise instructions. Yeah. So you are listening to wrong doctrine, wrong conversation, people who talk nonsense, negative things, try to sow a seed in your mind of doubts, and these will greatly cause your mind to become seeding the negative explanation or conversation of somebody. Quite a lot of people, so easily influenced from one conversation. They would never check the veracity, why the person is so negative. They wouldn't check. They're just totally influenced by that. Why? Because they're so vulnerable. They have no judgment, no rational mind of their own. They become so easily influenced. The negative things people say. That's why we call idle gossip. Or causing schism. And if people speak bad things about the people, that shows that person is one who is unwise to spend time with, because they're so negative. If we interact with positive people, their influence is positive. And if you have a negative influence, because you had this conversation, 2 of you agreed to that, as a result of you form an alliance, and what did you do was exactly opposite to what is generally regarded good, and you have a kind of partnership in that, and you are totally poisoned by that. So one needs to take caution about such conversations. And the fifth one is habituation. Habituation arising through the force of prior familiarity. Oh, you did that once before, you do the second again, and the third again. You don't even need to check, because you just lured into that negative conversation, a negative association, and you are repeating that habit again. So therefore, negative mental kind of afflictions are caused by these kind of factors. 6th is attention. It refers to arising from inappropriate attention. So one is paying attention deficit. One's attention is not with loving kindness or faith or compassion or wisdom or right view. One's attention is going to the opposite. if you really talk about Buddhist teaching, the 10 non-virtuous deeds are not really 10. You don't have to worry about 10. You just need 2. And those are 2 of the mental. Those are the ill will and covetousness. Means you're envying other people and you have ill will. So you don't have to worry about and of course wrong view is also pretty bad. So 3 of the 10 negative deeds are mental, and those are the mental factors we need to watch. Even physical non-virtuous deeds of killing and all this violence and all of that totally punishable by law anyway. Any of those actions, but ill will and covetousness and wrong view is not punishable by law because they don't know how to. they cannot police you. So therefore, a student who is studying Buddhism and mind and mental factors should really watch out that these 3 last negative deeds, that is thoughts, negative thoughts, covetousness, which is jealousy and envy, and then ill will. Exactly that. The ill will is a lot of people might be very intelligent, but they have no intention to drop their ill will towards somebody. They have hate that one or this one or that one. They have no intention to drop that ill will, as if they have some amazing multitude of good reason to keep that ill will going. So therefore, as a student of mind and mental factors, should therefore not out these 3 things. And so here, when we say about these 6 mental factors, to elaborate a little bit, first the basis refers to a seed of a latent potential. It is to have within one's continuum a seed or causal basis that easily gives rise to mental affliction whenever suitable conditions are encountered. Just as an example, when one has failed to remove the underlying causes for an illness, even a slightly inappropriate diet and behavior can lead to flare up the illness. Like that. So that's the basis. The base is still there. The seed is still there. Second is the focal object refers to something that appears attractive or unattractive and that gives rise to mental affliction when encountered. So that every time you do interact with something, you just lose yourself into it. So therefore one should learn to abstain, socially distance from such people or places or focal points. And that is really mental factor. Then you are actually able to mind your mental factor from exposing to negative causes, these causes. And the third one is the social distraction, refers to going along with bad companions, those who are non-virtuous, and always, in the name of best friend, you listen to their bad advices. You do bad things with bad people, you think they are good people. They may be good for whatever reason, but what they're influencing you and you mutually interacting is this social distraction. One is spending too much time with such places and people. And that can precipitate your negative mental emotions. And the fourth one, as I mentioned, is the type of conversation, listening to wrong doctrines, people who talk about warfare or politics or talking about flaws of other people, or backbiting and causing schism. And one gets so involved in creating schism and creating disharmony between a unit of community, and one is involved in that, then you will be alienated. You will be sooner or later alienated. From 10 friends, you will be only 2 of you, because 2 of you are agreeing with the negativity. So you will be alienated, and you think you have left them, but you haven't left them. You have just, even more negatively, you become more doubting. You still want to mind more than what actually you are involving. So that shows your negative association actually is completely making yourself to be thrown into the drain because of the social distraction and the kind of negative conversation that one is engaging with those people. And then, as mentioned, the fifth is habituation. Because of this, one is repeatedly repeating that again. One is doing that again and again, and so the mental emotions, the mental afflictions of the past is ready to be stirred, ready to be stirred. So therefore, student of mind and mental factors should be wary of these things, so that one doesn't give any sixth one the attention to do that, so that you don't suffer attention deficit, because your attention is going to those things, and you're spending inappropriate attention and time and energy and into those things, and as a result of that, it causes attachment, it causes doubt, it causes anger and suspicion and lack and disharmony and unhappiness. So an example of this is to think repeatedly about someone and something attractive or unattractive, as in thinking that an object of attachment such as suit of clothing has a delightful color, a beautiful shape and exquisite texture, or thinking that an object of anger such as enemy has done such and such harm to oneself in the past and will certainly do likewise in the future, and one is always on the watch what they will do to oneself, and one is always breeding and brooding ill will. So that shows that our negative mental emotions have these six causes. These six causes, which Asanga has listed in the Bodhisattva Bhumi. In the same Abhidharma Samuchaya, it says the three principal causes of mental afflictions are mentioned. The mental afflictions arise owing to their latent seeds not having been abandoned or uprooted previously, and then owing to the appearance of things that are conducive to mental affliction, owing to the activation of inappropriate attention, and because of that, one's mind fall into the trap of one of the secondary or root afflictions. So therefore, one has to abandon. If you haven't abandoned it before, the latent seeds of mental afflictions, then not having abandoned there, the power of underlying cause remains subtle, what you call subtle afflictive proclivities. So they're sitting there, they're just waiting there. They're just like an ember under the ash. It doesn't look like burning, but it's all there. It's seething with that. So if one is cognizant of the destructive negative mental emotions, then one should learn to do that. The second is the appearance things that are conducive to mental afflictions refers to the power of the object. One is easily influenced by the object. You have never got a mind of your own. You completely fall prey to by the kind of a snare of the animal. Just comes to eat the thing, but it doesn't realize it's poisoned. So one becomes so smallest things, sign, small little indication. Maybe somebody sees your doubt in your mind. You become completely flared with the doubts. You say you don't have any ability to restrain and check carefully yourself. So appearance of things that are conducive to mental affliction refers to power of the object, proximity of an object that is suitable to act as an objective condition for the arising of anger, doubt, and so on to occur again. So that you can see that there is no mental affliction that is independently truly existing. Your mental afflictions are exposing to the wrong thoughts, the wrong places, and if you're not distancing from them, so therefore the mindfulness is to abstaining the mind from exposing to those. Third is activation of inappropriate attention. Refers to the power of the preparatory activity, the presence of inappropriate attention as an immediately preceding condition. A statement similar to these are in the Compendium of Knowledge, which is Abhidharma Kosha, is found also in its commentary. For example, it says, as for their cause, mental affliction arise owing to three causes: not having abandoned the subtle proclivities, proximity of the object, and inappropriate attention. For example, In the case of attachment to pleasure, the subtle proclivity for attachment to pleasure has not been abandoned and goes unnoticed. Object conducive to entanglement is in attachment to pleasure appear, and there is inappropriate attention to them. In this way, the attachment to pleasure arises, respectively. These are the power of the cause, the object, and preparatory activity. One should understand that these and that other mental factors too arise in the same way, just like attachment, as an example. So this means whatever understanding we have from paying attention to these 51 mental mind and mental factors from the Sutra and the Shastra and Tantra, and as well as the other factors, we should become much more intimate with our thoughts, and then have a grip over our thoughts, and learn to stay very alert. Learn to stay very very alert. So this book has many important messages. If you get to read it. So therefore, what is really I want to summarize here is the importance of mindfulness. All of the understanding of mind and mental factors is that we need to be fully aware of what mind and mental factors we should recruit, and what mind and mental factors we should learn to abstain and reduce, and try to reduce their proximity to place and basic focal point and association, activity, people, places, and times. And that's why regularly studying Dharma, meditating, engaging in wholesome, positive, wise conversations, and helping each other, and not focusing on the flaws of others, because one has too much same flaws anyway. So, because if you focus on other people's flaws, you will double up yours, because you will then be angry with their flaws, and then you will be also flawed by it. So that was the benefit. So instead, one should see good in others, because you can see only good in others when you are cultivating wholesome mental factors. When you're cultivating wholesome mental factors, you will see good in others, whoever they are. Incredible, really. and then you will not be seeing you won't have the idle time to see the flaws of others. Every time you see some flaws of sentient being, you should show compassion. Then you understand really the positive mental factors, such as the 11 wholesome factors, as well as 26 negative mental factors, such as hate and judgment and so on. As soon as you see someone's flaws, you show compassion. Then their negative mental factors or habits or flaws become cause of your wholesome mental factors. Therefore, there is no suffering or negative mental factor of sentient beings that are useless. They are cause for your own growth. And that is the sutric, shastric, and tantric gist of the teachings. Why we want to be cognizant of the mind and mental factors is so that we don't think it's others for suffering and flaws. That is the problem. It's what we think of it. We must take greater precaution. We are more harmed not by our own attitude towards their flaws than their flaws. That will be a very wholesome, I would say, summation of studying mind and mental factors. And even our sadhana, even our prayers, even our discipline, and even the amazing things people do in the community and so on, we should always make sure that we are not in pointing flaws of others. Of course, some people are within our guardianship, maybe children or people who you have some kind of certain duty of care. Of course, you might have to not only show their flaws, but teach them very kindly and gently and compassionately. not ignoring their flows, because if you do, of course, then you're not doing the job of a parent or one with the duty of care. But doesn't mean that the flow people with flows, all peoples are with flows, by the way, I must say. All sentient beings, by definition, is flawed, full of flaws. 84,000 of them, basically. 26 afflicted mental emotions, just too little to list, So to notice sentient beings with flaws is a cause of your compassion. Then you understand mind and mental factors. But if you are very, very impatient with people's problems and their negative karma and their behaviors, you can't stand them, you don't have patience, then you don't understand mental factors. Your own anger towards their own flaws is doubly flawed, is worse on top of their flaws. So what are you benefit to them? No benefit to them. And what are you benefit to you? No benefit to you. No wonder why you will have sleepless nights, or if you do sleep, you will have nightmare-like dreams, and you wake up without having rested, because one's mind and mental factor is not on the lead of a mind that has mindfulness of it. One who understands mind and mental factors should have a lead, should have a leader. That is to see other flaws, but have compassion. Oh, he is like that, like me. I have this flaw. He has that flaw. I'm still long way of getting over with my flaw of this, and I'm about to judge this flaw. A flawed person cannot help another person with flaw. Only one who admits his own flaw and be kind to someone's flaw have real understanding of mind and mental factors. Why did Buddha? Why did Vasubandu, Asanga, and commentators of the Panchakrama in Guhya Samanja Tantra take great pains to explain these things, is so that we become cognizant and conversant and very literate of our emotional well-being, so that we are not sort of seeking place where there is no sentient beings with flaws, and that's what they call heaven. But there isn't such a place. There's no one-way ticket sold to go to heaven. But when you have compassion to someone whose flaw you see, and particularly they are your loved one or duty of care or your friends or you're someone you actually would expect they're better than you, but you see the flaws, but they too have karma, and they have compassion to them. This has therefore really helped you. By studying mind and mental factors from the Sutra and Shastra, we have become conversant in understanding sentient beings. When we understand sentient beings, we see their flaws when we have eyes to look on their flaws. Do they have not the eyes to see their flaws? Just like us? No. We do not see much of our flaws. Why would we expect them to see their flaws and have no flaws at all? So one who has an eye to spot one's mind and its emotions, and have an ability to swerve it this way or that way so that it doesn't go unbridled, that's mindfulness. That's the kind of one who guard mindfulness. So to generate such mindfulness and meta-awareness, which is extraordinary kind of, you can call it introspection, one must always practice heedfulness, which protects the mind from the afflictive mental emotions and promotes virtue. Practicing mindfulness itself is blissful. People who are mindful are relatively at peace. Not because they aren't sentient beings with flaws, but they are your constant object of compassion. So you can't say I can't practice compassion because I only do once a week in the Wednesday nights. Now why do a miserable thing on a Wednesday nights when you can do all the time? Because you're always surrounded by sentient beings with suffering and problems, and you don't have to visualize and being in hell, or because you can see them where they are, pretty hell-like, You wouldn't believe how troubled so many people are, so anguish, so many anger, so much hate over small things. You don't need to meditate on hell beings and their varieties. You can see one in your own eyes. You can see them in your own circles. And yet we are just hating him or her being in our life because they like. That's just another hell. One hell is bad enough, doesn't have to do. So therefore, we need to show compassion to such people in our lives and be patient with them. Then we have understood mind and mental factors. Buddha said that one who is heedful has heard him. Heedful, that all things are impermanent, that all things are unsatisfactory. That is not just you and the people around you that has unsatisfactory, but this nature of samsara that is that. When you remember that, you are mindful. You're mindful to remember the gist of the Buddha's teaching. Remember the focal points. If the focal point is one of the things, come to the Dharma. Oil your car of the mind. Go for refuge. Don't just at the beginning of a sadhana you do refuge. Just straight away turn and remember refuge, and pause from whatever you're doing and just remember the Dharma. How you should switch your mind and be cognizant of the mind and mental factors, and how to not expose to those negative focal points, but try to adhere to the positive mental focal points. And you are already having very good conversation. And if you like the monologue, you like what you see. It's not the absence of flaws in other people that's the positive, but no matter how much flaws and sufferings, problem people have, you are constantly present in seeing them as your own object practice of compassion. That it's a most appropriate place for you to grow is when you are with sentient beings with suffering. You might join your hands in front of a golden image of Buddha, but how about if you do that in front of sentient beings in a level that the fact that we join our hands in front of golden image is because the statue is so big and precious, or is that your reason to join your hands? You seem to be, enticed by metal. You need statues in front of you to make you join your hands. But you need sentient beings who are full of blood and tears. And no matter how impressive they look outwardly, they are all bruised and anguish inside their mind, most of them. You wouldn't believe how many people are so deeply troubled with hate and ill will and destructive mental factors. They are just practicing and perfecting and always paying attention to this inappropriate subject. They're paying attention, and they're just putting more salt or salt and pepper and chili on a boil, then stirring it. What would that do? Instead of putting the nice ointment and putting Band-Aid, one is putting this, metaphorically speaking. But they don't know that they're doing that. This is why people don't know how to mind their mind. But when it comes to minding something like a flies in the room, they're quickly going to fix the room, fix the window, fly screen, fly door, and they're able to do that. And they can check their fly screens, but they couldn't check their mind screen. So our subject, to which you have all been very diligent, has been how to put a mind screen. by studying mind and mental factors, how to learn to put a screen on our mind so that we are very much cognizant of not letting all these afflictive negative emotions lurk into our mind, that we actually can stay free of those bug-like mental thoughts that is causing our own flows to emerge, and then projecting that onto others. Okay, so everyone, so with this, I would like to thank you all for your very diligent participation in this and other topics. So we are about to conclude. Hello, everyone. Sorry, we are just here to wrap up the session and the term. We just had internet down for a little while there, so but we are not long way to go to finish anyway. So I'd like to thank you all, and this is a very very important topic, mind and mental factors, and so I'm sure you will find this will greatly boost your practices and mindfulness of them, and their benefit as a pivotal focal point of how to recharge and oil your mind. So with this, we're going to conclude in a minute with the dedication merits, and Jamiala would like to say a few words before we finish.
Hi everyone. Just before we conclude, I'd like to thank you, Lama Choedak Rinpoche, on behalf of all of your students, both here in person as well as online, for yet another term of wonderful Dharma teachings. So we have a break now over the Easter for a few weeks, and we'll reconvene soon, so please keep an eye on our website for when that'll be exactly. And thank you as usual to our technical team, committee, as well as the sponsors and patrons for contributing to these ongoing teachings. So we look forward to hearing what the next topic will be for the next term, and thank you all for your participation.
Thank you, Jamiala, and thank you, everyone. So I'll ditto all that, what you said. We'll do the dedication merits. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone.